Without much ado, I'll begin with Arun. Tata Sky is one of the most respected DPOs in the country, though not the largest currently, thanks to the merger which happened. Can you share some numbers? What's been going on with Tata Sky over the past, let's say, the past year or so?
I think it's been a steady growth that we are seeing. Of course, there are a number of headwinds, at least that we see from the continued focus on low-price competition at the bottom end. The FTA challenges that we were facing last year have at least come down, and that in that sense, we have seen strong growth. Now with, of course, the tariff order coming up, okay, it's all up in the air as to how things will evolve. But at least we are very, very strongly prepared to be able to take that on. Because one of the core elements of this will be execution, and that's what we are really good at.
That's true. I mean, you've changed MPEG for boxes, you've done all kinds of things in the past. What's in the DNA of Tata Sky which allows that to happen? What is it that allows you all to get so much up to speed?
I think it's been something that we've been doing for the last decade, right? At least, and I think if there's one thing that we've really earned our stripes on, it is putting our nose to the ground and working and doing things bit by bit. So our distribution networks, we go to every single village deep in the ground. We don't grow simply by schemes and by kind of by discounts. We go by being accessible to every last village and being able to accessible to every last customer. We do a lot of innovative things on the platform itself, beyond just packaging and beyond kind of innovative products that are value-added services. Digital is a big focus of what we do, right? And like you rightly said, it's not about being a pay TV platform. We are a video and broadband company. And when you think of yourself as a video and broadband company, it goes far beyond just kind of trying to sell pay TV bundles. And that's really, I think, what has helped us stay strong in the last.
So can you elaborate a little more on that? That you're not just a pay TV platform. Elaborate a little more on that.
So over the last few years, you would have seen that we've built a number of legs to our offerings in the market. So it's while we have the set-top box and the related content and the bouquets, etc., our app has come into the play very strongly. So I don't know if you've used the Tata Sky mobile app over the last year. It's a great experience, and now every month more than 10% of our base comes, and our base is not small. So 10% of our base comes and watches content on the app on a monthly basis. So it's become an integral part of what a Tata Sky customer expects. We have now a broadband business, okay, which is also a means of video delivery. So when we talk to the consumer, it's not only about content, it's about the means of watching content across platforms as well. We have watch.tatasky.com. We have a number of value-added services which range from really massy products, for example, like Bollywood Premiere, which is about kind of the biggest movies to all people, to relatively niche services like World Screen, okay, which is about which is for content aficionados, right? So it's about kind of on multiple legs across, whether it is satellite, whether it is digital, whether it's niche content, whether it's broad-based content. Kind of we've been expanding our kind of footprint and trying to make it work, right? Which is how we believe success will come in the future. It's by being kind of being ubiquitous in terms of access platforms and also getting your content mix right.
Yeah, your broadband story, how is that panned out in terms of?
So the business is relatively new, okay, but at this particular time it's been growing pretty strongly in the target market.
And how different are you from the other players? What's the unique thing that you're offering customers?
The uniqueness is very similar to what is unique about us in the main business, right? Which is we are completely customer centric. We understand that the reasons why consumers consume content and the reasons why consumers buy broadband, they want good speed, they want consistent kind of experience, they want good service, right? And that's really what our core is. At the end of the day, that's what kind of delights you about a broadband connection or disappoints you about a broadband connection, right? So those are the elements that really stand out from in terms of our service as well.
Thank you. I'll jump on to Anil now. Khera Saab, you just exited from, I think, around 9 months ago to a year from a DTH company. Looking at it from a distance now, what do you think of the sector currently? I'll come to what you're doing afterwards, but first, I want to know your opinion. How do you see the sector? As a person who's really built a brand like Videocon, and finally found a partner for your promoter in Dish TV. So how do you view the DTH sector?
Well, before I answer your question, Mr. Anil, I would like to thank you for creating such a wonderful platform where all the broadcasters and the platform meet and exchange the ideas. It's a brilliant thought and also a forced break for all of us, calling us in Goa. I have seen the transition of your summits from IDOS name changing to VBS. That clearly shows how the time have changed. From, earlier the main agenda used to be, I remember in all the summit, digitization, set-top box seeding and all this, how many boxes have been seeded and all this. Now, that has settled down. Now, new challenges have come in. Of course, like you said, GST and so many things. And the newest challenge is the new tariff order, which is going to revolutionize the broadcast industry and the platform industry. Coming back to your question, I am now out of the,
I didn't know. We all know that. And you're working very hard to build vast services.
You see, my none of the statement will now hamper my company because I'm not listed and there's no restriction on me on talking. So all statement will be factuals. Well, talking about, DTH industry, when I'm looking at from outside, I still see, DTH, not because I have worked with DTH and go back to, when before the DTH came in and there was only cable industry. And when DTH came in and people started talking the end of cable industry. In those days, there used to be 100 million cable subscriber estimated, but it never happened. Cable survived with cable also done digitization, and cable is one of the very good alternative today and most sought after service. DTH also came in. DTH created their own space. Today, DTH has got anywhere around 65 million subscriber. Cable still continues to enjoy 100 million plus subscriber, and all the challenges of how they will seed the boxes and how they will control the LCO, all were, things of past. Now, the new challenges, new trends are coming in, like you're saying. I've been hearing in Summit, and I've been, in my house also, I've been experiencing like OTT. OTT is going to kill, or rather...
I never said kill, I said challenge.
Challenge, yeah. Reduce the consumption of DTH, or the cord cutting will happen. And but if you look at, overall scenario in the country, we are talking about almost 180 million, 190 million TV household. Yeah, that is divided between right now cable and DTH. At the same time, we talk about total household in the country is around 280, 290 million. So we are in a country where still 80 million, 90 million, close to 100 million homes do not have TV. So there's a huge potentiality I see for growth in DTH as well as in cable, and OTT is definitely going to kick in because all over the world is coming in. But definitely there's no threat to the two existing business. And as I see, a smaller screen will be a complementing factor.
You still see the smaller screen as complementary?
Complementary factor to a larger screen. You see, in the house, the larger screen is still the king of the house. You will have features like in a television, Miracast kind of features. You will have set-top box, which will have those kind of features. If your TV does not have those features, so you can adapt those features through add-on set-top boxes. It could be Android box, it could be some other box. So this is anyway going to always going to complement the main TV. Whenever the subscriber is on move or he is mobile, of course he is going to consume the content on the smaller screen. But sitting in front of the large screen in his living room is not going to consume more content on a smaller screen, given a choice.
No, because look at the number of TV sets, look at the number of handsets. Raman, I'd like you to jump in after this, after Kera Saab response.
Number of TV sets?
And number of handsets.
Number of
Smartphones are really dropping in prices.
Let's not forget the handsets prime objective of possession in your pocket is for making a telephone call, not to watch videos. Yes, you can use that as a video. But television in the home is to entertain the family, to entertain home. Not because I have worked in DJ industry कि मैं पहले TV भी बेचता था, मैं उसके खिलाफ नहीं
नहीं, but Z5 को 41 million downloads हो गए हैं अभी तक. Not downloads, actual active users. Z5. Hotstar has a lot more active users. He's saying 10% of his subscriber base, which is about, what would the number be? About 1.2 million are using TV on the go. More than that. So, and they really haven't started marketing aggressively. We are in phase 1 of marketing of the product. So if you'd like to step in, Uni, do you want to step in?
I think just to kind of add to the point that Mr. Kera is making, right? It's not as much about one versus the other, right? I think it's about one and the other. So it's the fact is that when you have a main screen in the house and you're in the house, it is more than likely that the main screen will be utilized by somebody or the other for something, right? And it'll not be off while your phone is on. Right? So it will be on, and you might not be the one accessing the main screen, and as a result, you might be watching content of your choice on a second screen. Right? So I think this competition of one versus the other, I think, is a bit misleading. It's about one and the other. A lot of increased content consumption is happening on smartphones, but I think a lot of that is additive rather than substitutive of the main screen.
Where I'm coming from is that my home, my son's 22-year-old. He's a TV never. He watches it on his computer. I know I belong to a class which is probably higher. But with dropping prices of handsets, with data prices dropping, I think that phenomena in my building, my watchman, again, you might say he's a different class. In the villages where there is no electricity, the first port of consumption could be the phone going forward.
So,
and that's a large population which is not covered.
Let me put it this way. I think it's the screen size which is differing. If your son had a larger screen size on 40 inches, well, if he had a 40-inch laptop, he'd love to watch it on a 40-inch laptop. Now, the means of delivery could be multiple. It could be satellite, it could be digital, it could be all sorts of content. But a larger screen, the main television, is always at least going to be fundamentally relevant.
No, I don't dismiss that. But there is a potential threat that consumption could be split. If the industry doesn't get ready for that future, it could get split even further. Correct me if I'm wrong, Raman.
No, I think, so stepping onto that, you have a point. I think in the sense that the net new market of rural penetration, which is yet to come on the consumption pattern, could have a leapfrog effect. The smartphone could be the first position for them because of the dropping prices, rather than having a 32-inch or a larger TV set at home. Now, with electrifications, with the smartphone penetration, with the broadband access, getting there faster than the other channel, it can happen. There would be a certain section of that for sure. But at the same time, I think when the loop gets over, there would be a default phenomena of that phone which was first point of access becoming an alternate point of access with TV also stepping in. So I think in the longer run, if you see the phenomena of a large screen at home, and multiple small screens of different formats among different family members or the society members will continue to exist. You pick up any sport, any kind of content. You talk of sports, you would always love to watch sports on the go.
I always watch it on my phone, by the way.
No, I'm saying when you are on the go.
No, in my office also I watch it on my phone. At home also I'm watching it on my phone.
Yeah, so but when you're watching a
probably.
FIFA World Cup final, you always want to watch it on a big screen, with that cinematic effect and other thing. So
And I'll go to a club.
the screen size is the only factor, which plays a role. But now behind that, whether the content is coming from a satellite connection, whether it is a D2H or a cable connection, or it is being accessed through a OTT app on a smart TV, or it is the alternate access, those options will vary. And I would agree with what the point that Anil ji were saying, that India by and large will continue to be an end market. While the cord cutting and cord shaving is a phenomenon in US, but the per month subscription pricing over there is
With the new NTO, prices may go up.
yeah, it will go up, but
It won't stay the same. I mean,
it won't be same,
Yeah.
and it has to, it's a long pending thing, and I was always used to be surprised that why the pricing has not been dictated, if I use that word, has not been dictated upward by the distribution industry for last 10 years. Because the propensity to pay for the content was always there. Nobody was
because
asking.
there are about 1 million subscribers to Netflix. It's doing a revenue of almost 900 crores a year.
Yeah, so which proves the point that there is a market out there which is, and you can fragment it out. One rule will not fit everybody. There is a section out there which is happy to pay multiple subscriptions to multiple platforms without any hesitation. There is a market out there, and that's a growth of SVOD, which comes, going forward. And there is a market out there which is happy to, go on the base pack of even the new tariff order. They're saying, I want to have my few set of channels because so the propensity to pay, the consumer's interest to pay on what content is being delivered to them, eventually will rule the game. That and those options are not now wide open. You have Amazon sustaining and Netflix sustaining at the same time with such a differential pricing regime. It works. So I think it is we release the outlook as a PwC, and one point which you brought out in that is today all of us, we live in a super converged world, which basically has given birth of super competitors. If you talk of super competitors, we talk of people like Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and likewise. And each of them their starting journey was very different. If one was a retailer, book retailer, one was a DVD rental company, one was a content creator, and today all of them in some form and shape is the creator, distributor, producer of content, in some form and shape. And add to it the commerce, add to it, maybe something, else beyond that. So these are the super competitors. They are the top of mind recall of consumers, even in India also. You do a survey and people will say that, okay, that the top of brand recall, which is a very vital factor, that has taken place in a very, very predominant factor. And that throws up a challenge on the delivery platforms, if for example, coming to, only if Tata Sky has a, strong dominance in the market, or let's say Dish, or the other players, not now, but from your perspective, but otherwise. Now, it is going to be an interesting equation that how do any of these players in an alternate digital format, or the new players, either they are born on the cloud or the new content-driven factors, how do they create that relevance at scale when people are already having the top of brand recall on Netflix, Amazon, and a few others.
And Z5 and Hotstar and all of them.
I think for a lot of businesses outside that, there is a finite time share, time wallet share of human being. How much content can I watch? And it's a video quick. There's so much content everywhere. The content discovery and the experience will eventually rule the entire story. So to be relevant at scale, because if you're not at scale, you won't survive in the long run. That is the piece of puzzle that everybody need to answer outside the super competitors, the landscape. Whether that relevance is based on the content. For example, if all Balaji says that my relevance is, the kind of content that I'm giving to the market, you like it, you love it, you hate it, you could be a critic, that apart, but that's my definition of being relevant to my audience, or somebody else, comes. So it could be a content-driven relevance, and then you build scale on it. It could be a very, very sharp experience-driven relevance that, I offer the amount of immersive experience which nobody else is doing, for example. It could be any story. But finding that hotspot of what defines us as a business, as a entity's relevance, and can that be at scale to sustain this, multi-platforms, content delivery, video delivery ecosystem, because you can't have from a consumer standpoint, one consumer can't have too many options being thrown to them and then getting lost that, what do I do out of it? So that is the next wave of refinement that which of multiple options really sustain between now and next 5 years, and how the whole, and that will eventually define the mergers, acquisition, buyout story, when
Yes, so let's look at it this way. A large player like Z is looking for a partner.
Yeah.
What is driving that? I know there's debt they've taken on in other ventures, but they sustained all this over the years. So what is driving that? Any of you on the panel, is it the winds of change or is it internal restructuring they're looking at? I believe it's the winds of change also.
I won't say as a kind of an internal restructuring, but clearly it's a message that on one side if there is a divestment, finding a strategic partner, a global strategic partner. On the other side, you see the amount of money which is being pumped into ZEE5. Now, despite being a late entrant into that space in true sense, their earlier OTT platform was really non-existent in a way. But despite being a late entrant, the aggression behind that, going to 190 countries, for example, backing it up with the content library, and then also backing it up with the originals. Today, I'll give, on originals, I'll give an example, and I notice it when you drive in Bombay, on that Mahim to Bandra, that flyover, they're huge hoardings. And so interesting, everybody is now on that original. So you would say ZEE5 original, there's a huge hoarding. YouTube original, there's a hoarding. Netflix original.
In fact, Netflix and Amazon are spending the maximum.
They got deep pockets.
Absolutely.
Billions of dollars getting into original. But I'm saying that is eventually, is what is going to shape up. So ZEE5 has done smartly multiple things. They leveraged the library, they leveraged the strength at which Zee fundamentally grew as a broadcast also, which is distribution also, which is regional plus international. Now, if you look at Zee, they really mastered that art very well. The regional expansion, that market, and the global international market in terms of the bottom line. And that same logic they've applied on ZEE5, fueled it further with the original content, took it aggressively worldwide, investing into it. So yes, to your question, it's a very clear signal of the shift of the winds of change, going forward, going into the future. What is it that's going to be, what is it that's going to define the valuation for the business and being relevant to the consumers? And that relevancy to consumers, on that scale, they will do very well with this shift.
I understand.
And the strategic partner, we don't know, it's anybody's guess it right now that who could it be, but the strategic partner will, of course, give a very different kind of fuel power to take it global to a different scale.
Yeah. Coming back to you, does the arrival of Jio with the FTTH service, which they are really giving away everything at free, they'll do it for a year, is that going to disrupt your business model in any way? I mean, they did that in wireless. They totally changed the economics of telecom. So doing that in video distribution,
I think these are very different, as much as there's a lot of commonality here, there are also fundamental differences between telecom and FTTH. FTTH, in that sense, is a house-to-house game. You need to kind of win the battle for every single home, every single customer in that house. You can't just switch on a signal somewhere and everybody will convert. And you need to have a combined portfolio. See, there are three things that you need to get right in a converged environment. One is the infrastructure, right, which is essentially where we're talking about the backbone, the pipeline, etc. Second is the economics. The economics need to work out not just for a seamless delivery, but also the content plus data, the whole economics needs to work out. And the third is the UX, UI, UX, right? So now the infrastructure itself is going to take in broadband, we believe it's going to be a step-by-step phase, right? And so there will be a large part of the infrastructure that will go in the most obvious places where all of us mostly already have a significant amount of broadband, and broadband availability is not a constraint, at least for a significant part of South Bombay, South Delhi, at least the urban places, right? So it will be substituting existing content there. So by the time it goes out to larger and larger kind of areas, there is going to be some time that it needs to take. The second is economics. If you really want to look at economics of an average Indian household consumes 4 hours of television a day. 4 hours of television a day is a lot of data if you want to substitute, right? So, and that amount of data.
But he's going to give it away free on FTTH for a year and a half.
That's where the economics needs to work out. So saying,
what will that do to your economics? It totally messed up the economics of all the large telcos.
No, I think consumers are already used to paying content at a certain level in the country today, right? And so it's not that content is very, very expensive in the market today. Consumers are already paying at that level of content today, so we don't think that there is a good fundamental shift that they will see, or there will be a discomfort they will see in paying for content, at least at the current levels. Right? We don't know what the Jio plans are. We don't know how they're going to pan out. So I can't speculate on what us versus them looks like. But at this point
Us
in time,
versus DPOs, forget, not it's DPOs versus Jio.
no, so unless I know what their offer is, I really beyond a point can't speculate. What I can say at this point in time is that at least the offerings that we have in the market right now are extremely competitive. They are available very, very widely. They have a very, very comprehensive offering. So all put together, it's not an easy combination to beat.
I understand.
Right?
So it doesn't
and
worry
there are
you.
lots of things that need to be put.
So it doesn't worry you. It's not keeping you burning the midnight oil, wondering how to counter if the plans come out, or you're ready for that.
I don't think it's about, I mean, we have to be ready for everything. Right? And to that extent, for us, like we said, we have evolved from being just a DTH or a pay TV company to being a video and broadband company for a reason. Because we also believe in that future of where the digital delivery of content is a critical part of what your offering is. Right? And so obviously we are getting ready for
So,
that as well.
your word on cable, what's the future of digital cable? What's the future of OTT in India? We'll have one round, and then I'll throw it open to the audience for questions.
Yeah.
You said there's a great future. You already said it, but,
Yeah.
but after listening to Raman, after listening to...
Yeah.
Has it changed? Has it shifted a bit?
No, you see, I strongly believe that, everybody is going to stream. Yeah. Right now, the disruptions of OTT, the traditional platforms are facing because the contents are almost available for free. Like Raman pointed out that, the difference between the traditional distribution platform in US and the
ARPU differences are very
OTT
much.
platform. And the ARPU is, if it is $100, it's $15. So
It's going to go up here too.
so people preferred, streaming. But in India, it's $4 versus almost free. I mean, still the OTT pricing is not established. Like Tata Sky is giving the catch-up app is complementary to the main connection, correct? Yeah. So, as long as the freebies are available, Jio is almost coming free for many months, and it's a freemium kind of product. So, as long as it's available free, everybody is going to stream. But again, it's going to determine that how you're going to price it, how the OTT companies are going to raise revenue out of the services. Right now, people are complementing both the products, and there are people who will want everything. They want all sort of pipe. If there is a DTH, they want DTH. They want the highest pack. They want all channel to be seen.
But those are niche. Let's look at the big. They don't bring you value. They bring you. You need the volumes to bring you the value you want.
But these are the people who subscribe to Netflix. These are the people who subscribe to Amazon. And in this hall, mostly those kind of people are there, and people whom we meet, generally all media people in Mumbai.
I was speaking to a rickshaw driver, and he knew Amazon. He watches Amazon. A rickshaw driver.
So the future of course, streaming is going to stay. I mean, all over the world, even in India, because of the improved infrastructure, internet facility available, smartphone penetration almost going to 400 million, and will go to 500 million plus. And definitely, I mean, everybody is going to stream, but I strongly still believe that the traditional platform also going to stay. I mean, there is no threat of...
So what's the split do you see? You see digital SVOD platforms being 30%, traditional linear being, let's say, 50%?
No, it's too early to say. I will only make a statement that currently it's going to coexist, and after the prices are determined, then people are going to not pay for this platform also and for the OTT platform also. Then they have to take a call, which pipe they are going to subscribe.
Yeah, Raman?
Yeah, I think the most important aspect that will come to your question of the future of digital cable.
Absolutely, we've been talking
and
about
other
that.
things. From a macro level, India will be a market of and coexistence. That at a macro level, I think whatever trends we talk about, you will for sure have enough market for digital cable, or let's say the satellite and cable, coming together, and enough market and growing much faster for the OTT. That's at a macro level, coexistence. One step, a few steps, deeper down among the various players, it's going to be a constant battle for being relevant to the consumer through experience and content. You will see, for example, if Amazon launches Mirzapur, and Mirzapur gives you about maybe 9 hours of content watch in 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours of, 8 hours in season 1, there are enough takers, as you were saying, that there are parts of society whom we would have never imagined maybe a year or 2 years, 3 years back. They are subscriber to Amazon. They watch, they pay, they watch content, pretty much, and that eats away the time wallet share. So at a micro level, among all the players, there's going to be a constant battle of being relevant to consumers by continuous investment in right content which people are going to like, they are happy to pay, because consumers will have no loyalty. While there is a trend that people, even with the immense amount of dissatisfaction, if you're not happy with your service provider, Indians by and large still continue. They will cry, they will make hue and cry, crib, go to social media, write about it, but they don't take the hard decision of shifting the platform. That's by and large the user behavior. But on digital platforms, people will not hesitate of cutting short their subscription, moving to the next one. So the continuous investment in content and delivering the right experience, that's just something that will define that at a ground level among the players who wins this battle in the long term. And it's going to be an oscillating curve from a user standpoint. If I, as a consumer, I might, or let's say the section of society, it's a section of consumers who, to your annual point, who will not happily buy everything, but buy selectively, they will keep oscillating. They're like 3-month subscription, watch all the content they want to watch, move on to the next one, keep oscillating. And that's where the real challenge, comes in. There's no loyalty in this world of content and experience.
That's a challenge for the OTT guys. I agree with you. No, but on the metro side, you said there'll be coexistence.
Correct.
Whereas on the smaller towns, and that's where the challenge will lie, you're saying, in terms of content.
Even I won't split them as metro or smaller towns. I would rather split them as the consumer personas. So, you will find, the empathy will take over a lot of things, how well the people in content business, whether it is the content creation or the delivery platforms, how well they carry the empathy factor, how well do they know the consumers, to be able to continuously reinventing them.
So the DPOs won't matter really, it'll be the content, in your opinion, to that segment. Who's the distribution platform doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying. The consumers will feel, because the consumer is so empowered today that, you can't buy a consumer's loyalty or a long-term subscription purely on the back of, being relevant to him in the past. If I don't supply the content that he or she wants to watch on an ongoing basis, they will flip easily.
Do you agree?
I think it's too early to draw lines in the sand like this. I think at this point in time, I see this as layers upon layers upon layers.
Sure.
Right? There is a fundamental strong base of paid television in this country, which, just to give you an example, 70% of our new growth comes from outside the top 100 towns. We've been growing the fastest in the last year, and 70% of that growth is coming from outside the top 100 towns. When you think about that, what it tells you is that there is so much out there that is still to be done on just the core product itself, right? Then you have free content, then you have paid digital content, okay? Then you have transaction content. And there are horses for courses across the board. And each family, let's take any one family. In that family, there is somebody who's watching the main television, okay? And maybe even if the family is nuclear, if your father comes home, the paid television will be on. If you have somebody who's domestic help who's working in the house, maybe purely for that person, paid television will be on. There are so many nuances to this, and there are so many layers to this.
But the NTO.
At least at a very core level, the way I see this evolving is, there is a strong pay TV foundation that exists in this country and will continue to exist.
Can you sustain $750 and $850 as your top pack with the new tariff order?
$750 is the price of one Netflix subscription.
I'm talking
I'm
about
saying,
you. Tata Sky.
That's why I think we need to have a view on the comparisons, right? One Netflix subscription for a month is $750.
Yeah.
Compared to what pay TV is for $750, you get. Imagine how much content you get.
I agree.
100 channels.
But can you
all the
sustain it, or would you have to take it up to $2,000 for your premium pack?
I think those are different questions, right? The
Yeah, so I'm
economics
just
of-
saying.
But why do you believe that everything will be $2,000 for the two-pack? Right now, the customer is already paying what they believe they should be paying for pay TV, and they're happy with what they're paying for pay TV, right?
That
And
was in an earlier regime where you had a set-off and net fixed fee deals. You had different kind of deals.
I think again, it's a bit too early to speculate that as to in the new tariff order regime what the prices will be. We'll all have to learn as to. The consumer tells you what works.
Okay.
Right? And we'll have to learn from the consumer. At the end of the day, you can't just go and impose a price on the consumer and say, pay this tomorrow. The consumer will either accept it or tell you that it doesn't work, and you will have to adjust according to what the consumer can afford. Right? So I think that we are still, that journey is yet to happen. Okay, and the consumer will tell you what's working and not working.
Fantastic. So there's space for everyone. Any questions from the audience before we end this session? Do we have any questions? All right. Thank you very much. This is not my view. I'm just pushing you all to get your views out, please. This is not my view. Thank you.